She had spent an entire month pretending I didn't exist. No phone calls, no messages, no acknowledgement of the countless small attempts I made to reach her. For 30 days, I lived beside a shadow. Someone who occupied the same space as me but contributed nothing to the life we were supposed to share. And then, as abruptly as her silence began, she appeared in the doorway again, smiling with the ease she once used to melt me. "See? Lesson learned," she said, her tone playful, as though a month of intentional withdrawal were nothing more than a harmless social experiment. I looked at her with a steady, unreadable expression. "Lesson learned," I echoed quietly, and then I stepped past her, moving into the living room without another glance. No blow-up, no raised voice, just a simple truth settling inside me. Because by then, I understood something essential. People expose who they really are when they believe you aren't watching. And she had shown me everything I needed to know across those silent 30 days. My name is Mark, and patience has always been part of who I am. I'm patient in conflict, patient in love, patient through the ups and downs of life. But patience is not the same as surrender. It isn't permission for disrespect. It doesn't mean accepting invisibility. For 3 years, I had built a future with Sarah, a woman I genuinely believed shared my understanding of partnership. We had connection, moments of closeness, shared dreams. But gradually, things shifted. The affectionate gestures faded. Conversations lost their depth. And the warmth in her gaze slowly hardened into apathy. I tried repairing the distance between us. Handwritten notes, her favorite dishes, quiet evenings carved out just for us. But nothing landed. By the 3rd month of this new pattern, it became undeniable. She no longer cared about us, about my feelings, or about the life we were intertwined in. And then came the silence. A full month of absence that forced me to confront what I had been avoiding. I didn't address it the moment she returned. Not yet. Instead, I sat in the living room, letting the silence stretch between us, watching the tension in her shoulders, the uncertainty flickering in her expression. She waited for me to react, to collapse into apology, to validate the narrative she had constructed. But I had already learned my own lesson. Silence carries weight, and in that weight, clarity rises. Over the following days, Sarah became a quiet study in unease. She tried slipping back into the space she had vacated, laughing at my comments a bit too loudly, hovering nearby, offering explanations that sounded more like rehearsed excuses. "I was overwhelmed," she'd say, or "I needed time to figure things out." But deep down, I knew that space wasn't what she needed. Respect was, and respect, once fractured, doesn't return through half-hearted apologies. I started observing what had been there all along. Late-night conversations she never mentioned. Plans she conveniently forgot to include me in. The way she sidestepped shared tasks around the house. Piece by piece, her choices revealed a truth. She had grown comfortable taking me for granted, sure that I'd always be waiting at the end of her disappearing acts. I didn't explode. I didn't chase. I simply continued my life with calm consistency, and that, more than anything, unsettled her. She tested me with small provocations, attempts to pull old emotional responses from me, the same reactions that had allowed her behavior to continue unchecked for so long. But I had changed. That month of silence taught me that though patience is strong, observation is stronger. I watched her try to regain footing while I quietly collected what I needed to understand. Then came the half-sincere compliments, the awkward attempts at conversation, the sudden interest in trivial things. "Mark, I really missed you," she said one morning, brushing by me in the kitchen. I met her gaze evenly.
"I noticed," I replied.
That was all. I refused to give her the emotional reward she was fishing for. I wasn't playing the same game anymore. By midweek, the worry in her movements became unmistakable. She tried subtle manipulation, asking about my schedule, probing into my plans, bringing up my friends, attempting to insert herself into parts of my life she had ignored for months. I responded with the same steady neutrality, never hostile, never reactive. Her attempts to control the emotional landscape no longer found their mark, and that realization began to unravel her. Sarah assumed that returning after a month-long disappearance would reset everything, that I would simply slide back into my old role. But the silence had changed me. It exposed the truth of our relationship and illuminated my own strength. By the weekend, she tried to manufacture normalcy again. "Let's go out tonight," she suggested lightly, as though things had never fractured. But I knew better than to trust casual invitations meant to conceal deeper motives. "Not tonight," I answered evenly.
"No explanation. No apology."
No invitation for negotiation. Her reaction was subtle, a momentary tightening around her mouth, a flicker of panic in her eyes. She had expected instant forgiveness, the same reflexive compliance she'd relied on for years. Instead, she met a boundary she couldn't cross. She continued testing me in the days that followed. Playful comments, gentle touches, Small gestures meant to pull attention from me, but each attempt only highlighted the respect she had neglected for too long. And as she tried to win back what she had squandered, she finally began to understand how it felt to be disregarded. Then the moment arrived, the one I had anticipated quietly. She approached me in the evening, her expression soft, her voice low. "Are we okay now?" she asked. I faced her, calm and unshaken. "We're only okay when respect goes both ways," I said. "Anything less is just noise." That was when she finally understood. The lesson she thought she had taught me was actually the one she had just learned. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't cruelty. It was acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of limits, of boundaries, of the quiet strength that emerges when a man stops offering his time and affection to someone who treats it carelessly. She realized, perhaps for the first time, that love mocked, ignored, and taken for granted cannot be relied upon to stay. Later, as I sat in the living room reflecting on everything, the silence, the observation, the gradual shift in power, I recognized the truth. Respect cannot be demanded back once it has been lost. It must be nurtured, maintained, and honored. And assuming it will return freely is the most dangerous mistake of all. She had come back, yes, but she returned to a version of me she no longer recognized. And that change was irreversible.